Your mind is your greatest asset or your biggest enemy. The way you think shapes everything, your decisions, your emotions, and even the way life unfolds before you. But what happens when your mind turns against you? When negativity creeps in, whispering doubts, feeding your fears, and making every challenge feel impossible. This is not just overthinking. This is a pattern, a mental loop that keeps you stuck in frustration, stress, and self-doubt. And the worst part? Most people don't even realize they're trapped. They mistake their negative thoughts for reality, never questioning if there's another way. But there is another way. And in this video, you're going to learn how to rewire your negative thinking, break free from self-sabotage, and take back control of your mind. We'll dive deep into Stoic philosophy, uncovering the powerful mental shifts that have helped people for centuries. You'll learn why perspective shapes reality, why overthinking kills progress, and how mastering your emotions can free you from anxiety and stress. And by the end, you'll have practical, battle-tested strategies to silence negativity before it takes hold. But before we start, I want to hear from you. Have you ever felt stuck in negative thinking? What's the one thought that holds you back the most? Drop it in the comments below, because today we're breaking the cycle. Let's begin. 1. Perspective shapes reality. Your reality is not built from the events that happen to you. It's built from how you interpret them. Two people can experience the same moment, yet one sees a disaster while the other sees an opportunity. The difference? Perspective. We often assume our thoughts are the truth, but in reality, they are just stories we tell ourselves. A failed relationship doesn't mean you're unlovable. A rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough. A setback doesn't mean the journey is over. But when negative thinking takes over, it feels like these things define us. And that's where the trap lies, believing that external circumstances hold power over us. Stoicism teaches that suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from how we judge them. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He ruled an empire through war, plague, and betrayal. Yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His circumstances were brutal, but his mindset remained unshaken, because he knew that his thoughts, not the world, determined his peace. Imagine walking through a dark forest at night. You hear rustling in the bushes. Your mind jumps to the worst possible conclusion. A wild animal, a threat, something dangerous. Your heart races and adrenaline kicks in. But then a breeze shifts the leaves and you realize it's just the wind. The fear was never in the rustling. It was in your interpretation of it. And this is how our minds work daily. We react not to reality, but to the meaning we assign to it, and that meaning can be rewritten. Emma never thought she would lose everything in a single morning. She had built her career for years, investing every ounce of herself into it. But the email arrived cold and indifferent. "We appreciate your contributions, but due to restructuring, we must let you go." The moment she read those words, a story began forming in her mind. I am a failure. I am not valuable. My future is uncertain. It wasn't just a job she lost, it was her sense of identity. For weeks, she spiraled into self-doubt. Every application rejection confirmed her belief that she wasn't good enough. She started withdrawing from friends, skipping meals, and losing sleep. Her mind replayed the moment she was let go, over and over, reinforcing the idea that she had no future. The more she believed it, the more real it became. Until one day, her sister sat beside her and said, "The problem isn't what happened, the problem is the meaning you've given it." Emma didn't understand at first. What does she mean? I lost my job. That's a fact. But later that night, as she lay awake staring at the ceiling, something shifted. What if her sister was right? What if losing this job didn't mean she was a failure? What if it meant she was being freed for something better? She rewrote the story she had been telling herself. Instead of, "I was fired," she chose, "I am being redirected to something better." Instead of, "I'm not valuable," she told herself, "I have years of experience and skills that will take me further than I thought possible." And slowly her mind followed. The next day she got up earlier than usual. She rewrote her resume, reached out to contacts she had lost touch with, and started actively looking for opportunities. Not out of desperation, but with confidence. A few weeks later, she found a job that not only paid better, but aligned with her true passion. The event hadn't changed, but her perspective had, and that changed everything. How often do we trap ourselves in prisons of our own making? How many times do we let a single failure, a single rejection, a single bad day define who we are? Stoicism reminds us that nothing has inherent meaning until we give it one. If we choose to see obstacles as lessons, setbacks as redirections, and pain as a teacher, then we transform our own reality. Negative thinking is like a pair of dark sunglasses. Everything looks dim, hopeless, and heavy. But what if you took them off? What if you saw things as they truly are, not as your fear paints them to be? The mind is a battlefield. The thoughts you choose to entertain will shape the world you live in. So the next time negativity creeps in, pause. Ask yourself, is this fact or is this just a story I've created? And if it's a story, then you have the power to rewrite it. 2. The power of the present. The mind has a way of playing tricks on us, keeping us trapped between two prisons, the past and the future. We regret what has already happened, reliving moments we cannot change, and we fear what hasn't happened yet, letting anxiety take control of the present moment. But here's the truth. The past is unchangeable, and the future is unpredictable. The only thing we ever truly have is now. People spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment, for things to fall into place, for life to finally begin. But what if you knew with absolute certainty that today was the only day that mattered? Would you still waste it worrying about a future that hasn't arrived? The mind clings to what-ifs because it seeks control. It believes that if it overthinks enough, it can predict and prevent pain. But in reality, overthinking is the very thing that robs us of peace. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, ruled Rome through war, plague, and political chaos. And yet, instead of obsessing over what the future might hold, he wrote, "The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately." He understood that life isn't something to be controlled. It is something to be lived. No amount of planning can guarantee tomorrow, but every moment wasted on worry is a moment of life that slips away forever. Daniel learned this lesson the hard way. For years, he lived in a constant state of worry, always planning, always preparing, but never truly living. His mind was a battlefield of anxiety, constantly shifting between fears of failure and hopes for success. He believed that if he could just figure everything out, he would finally be at peace. But peace never came. There was always another goal, another milestone, another uncertainty to solve. One evening, he visited his grandfather, a man who had lived through war, hardship, and loss, yet always seemed to carry a quiet, unshakable calm. As they sat in silence, his grandfather finally spoke. "You're always looking ahead, Daniel. Always waiting for life to start. But tell me, if you can't enjoy this moment right now, what makes you think you'll enjoy any moment in the future?" That question lingered in Daniel's mind. He had spent years thinking happiness was something he would achieve once he had more money, more stability, more success. But his grandfather was right. If he couldn't enjoy a simple evening with family, a warm cup of coffee, or the laughter of a friend, what was he chasing? That night, he made a decision. He would stop living for some time and start living for now. The next morning, instead of rushing through his day, he paused. He let himself enjoy the taste of his morning coffee. He put his phone down and actually listened to conversations. He took a walk without thinking about his to-do list. And for the first time in years, he felt something unfamiliar. He felt present. Living in the present isn't about ignoring responsibilities. It's about realizing that no amount of worry will change the future. But every moment wasted on fear is a moment of life lost. Anxiety is like carrying an umbrella every day, waiting for a storm that may never come. But when the sun is shining, would you rather prepare for rain or enjoy the warmth while it lasts? When the mind wanders to the future, the Stoic approach is to bring it back with logic. Ask yourself, is my worry solving anything? If the answer is no, then why hold on to it? If a solution exists, act on it. If it doesn't, let it go. Life unfolds one moment at a time. Those who learn to embrace the present find peace, not because life is perfect, but because they are no longer waiting for perfection to begin living. 3. Mastering emotional reactions. Emotions can be deceptive. They feel urgent, intense, like they must be acted on immediately. But emotions are temporary. Acting on them without control is like steering a ship in the middle of a storm. You're bound to crash. The real question is, do you control your emotions or do they control you? Most people let their emotions dictate their choices. Anger makes them lash out. Fear keeps them paralyzed. Resentment poisons their relationships. The problem isn't feeling these emotions, it's allowing them to take over. Because when emotions rule, logic disappears and regret takes its place. The Stoics saw this. They knew that reacting impulsively was a sign of weakness, not strength. Epictetus warned, any person capable of angering you becomes your master. If a stranger's words can ruin your day, if a small inconvenience can set you off, then you are not in control. The world is. And until you learn to master your emotions, you will always be at the mercy of things outside of you. Michael learned this the hard way. He had always been driven by emotion, quick-tempered, reactive, and impulsive. In his personal life, this meant constant arguments. At work, it meant being seen as unpredictable. He didn't just get frustrated, he exploded. And one day, that cost him everything. His boss called him in for a meeting. It was about his performance, nothing unusual, just a discussion. But something about the tone set him off. The moment his boss questioned his decisions, anger flooded his system. He pushed back. His voice rose. He lost control. By the time he left the room, the damage was done. An hour later, he was fired. Michael was stunned. He wasn't expecting it. But deep down, he knew. This wasn't just about the meeting. It was about every outburst before it. Every moment he let his emotions take the wheel. Every time he thought reacting with passion made him strong. But in reality, it had only made him reckless. That night, sitting in his apartment, he replayed the moment over and over. He felt the rush of adrenaline, the burning frustration, but now it didn't seem so justified. What did he actually gain? Nothing. What did he lose? Everything. That was the turning point. For the first time, he stopped blaming the world and started looking inward. He read about Stoicism, and one quote from Marcus Aurelius changed his perspective forever. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Michael started practicing the pause. Whenever anger rose, instead of reacting, he stopped. He took a breath. He asked himself, will this matter in a week, in a month, in a year? More often than not, the answer was no. And each time he chose patience over reaction, he took back control. Months later, he got a new job. But this time, things were different. He handled stress without snapping. He dealt with criticism without getting defensive. His relationships improved, and his career stabilized. He was no longer a prisoner of his emotions. Think about this. A matchstick burns out in seconds. A wildfire lasts for hours. Which one destroys more? It's not the first spark of emotion that does the damage. It's feeding it with fuel. If someone insults you, you have two choices. React with rage or stay still and remain unshaken. If a situation frustrates you, you can explode, or you can pause and choose a response that serves you. If fear creeps in, you can let it control you, or you can face it with reason. Mastering emotions doesn't mean you don't feel them. It means you don't let them control you. Those who do this don't just find success, they find peace. Because in the end, strength isn't about reacting, it's about choosing not to. 4. Acceptance versus resistance. Life doesn't ask for your permission before it throws obstacles in your way. Plans fall apart. People disappoint you. Unexpected challenges arise. And yet, most of our suffering doesn't come from these events. It comes from our refusal to accept them. Resistance is what turns inconvenience into misery. It's what makes a delayed flight feel like a personal attack, a job loss feel like the end of the world, or a rainy day ruin an entire mood. The truth is, things don't hurt us. Our attachment to how we think they should be is what causes the pain. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and all will be well with you." That isn't passive defeat, it's power. Because when you stop fighting reality, you can start working with it. Noah learned this in the most unexpected way. He had planned his dream trip for months. Flights, hotels, an itinerary packed with experiences he had been waiting for. But as he sat in the airport, an announcement shattered everything. His flight was canceled. There was no other option for another 24 hours. Frustration exploded in his chest. He complained. He paced. He checked his phone over and over, hoping for an update that wouldn't come. His mind spiraled. This delay would throw off everything: the hotel reservation, the activities, the perfect experience he had imagined. An elderly man sitting next to him had been watching in silence. Finally, he chuckled and said, "You're fighting reality, but reality already won." The words cut through Noah's frustration like a knife. He had two choices: continue resisting and make himself miserable, or accept what had already happened and adapt. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and for the first time in hours, let go. Instead of wasting the day being angry, he left the airport and explored the city he was stuck in. He walked through old streets, tried a local cafe, and met a fellow traveler. He stopped seeing the situation as a problem and started seeing it as an opportunity. By the time his flight was finally ready, he had turned an inconvenience into an adventure. The flight cancellation hadn't changed, but his reaction had, and that changed everything. Imagine holding onto a rope that's being pulled away from you. The tighter you grip, the more it burns your hands and the more pain you feel. But the moment you let go, the pain stops. The rope didn't change. Only your decision did. Life is full of situations that pull at us: failed plans, broken relationships, lost opportunities. Holding on to frustration doesn't change the outcome, but it does deepen the suffering. Letting go doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It means you refuse to let it control your emotions. Think of life like a river. You can either flow with the current or exhaust yourself trying to swim against it. The river doesn't care. It keeps moving with or without you. Resistance doesn't stop the current. It only makes you suffer more. Seneca once said, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." The ones who resist reality are the ones who suffer the most. The ones who accept it are the ones who remain unshaken. If something is beyond your control, it is already decided. The question is, what will you do next? You can waste energy resisting, or you can adapt and move forward. People who understand this don't waste time being angry at the rain. They bring an umbrella and keep going. The world will not always bend to your expectations. But if you learn to let go of resistance and accept reality as it is, you'll find something far more valuable than control. You'll find peace. 5. The danger of comfort. Comfort feels safe. It's familiar, predictable, and effortless. And that's the problem. The more we seek comfort, the weaker we become. The mind, like the body, atrophies without challenge. Modern life makes it easy to avoid discomfort. Climate-controlled homes, instant gratification, endless entertainment. But what happens when you avoid hardship for too long? You stop growing. When even the smallest inconvenience feels overwhelming, life itself becomes unbearable. The truth is that the more you shield yourself from struggle, the more fragile you become. The Stoics knew this well. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, intentionally practiced discomfort. He slept on the floor, ate the simplest food, and exposed himself to hardship. Not because he had to, but because he knew that comfort breeds weakness. He understood that if you never train for adversity, you won't survive it when it comes. Let's take a story. For years, a man chose the easy path in everything he did. A stable job that required little effort. Avoiding confrontation, even when it meant sacrificing his own needs. Ignoring his health because exercising felt like too much work. Whenever something felt difficult, he simply turned away, convincing himself that as long as things were fine, there was no need to push harder. But something was missing. He wasn't struggling, yet he wasn't satisfied. Every day felt the same, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He had everything he thought he wanted: comfort, security, predictability. But he felt weak. Physically, mentally, emotionally. It was as if life had dulled him, made him a spectator rather than a participant. One evening, as he scrolled through his phone, he stumbled upon a passage from Marcus Aurelius. "Don't indulge in dreams of what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." Something clicked. He realized he had taken everything for granted: his health, his time, his abilities. He had spent years avoiding effort instead of building resilience. The next morning, he made a decision. No more taking the easy way out. He started small, taking cold showers to train his mind to endure discomfort. He pushed himself at the gym instead of quitting when it got hard. He stopped running from difficult conversations and spoke up when something mattered. At first it was exhausting. His body ached and his mind resisted. But something surprising happened. The more he leaned into discomfort, the stronger he felt. Confidence replaced hesitation. He became someone who didn't fear challenge, but embraced it. His mindset shifted from "I hope things are easy" to "I hope I am strong enough to handle anything." He learned something powerful. Comfort is a slow poison. It lulls you into believing that effort is unnecessary and that growth is optional. But when discomfort arrives uninvited, as it always does, those who have never trained for it collapse, and those who have trained endure. Now, imagine standing in a gym, lifting a weight that's too heavy. Your muscles strain, your body wants to give up, but push through, and your muscles rebuild, stronger than before. The same is true for your mind. If you avoid the weight of discomfort, you remain weak. If you embrace it, you grow. Life will not always be comfortable. Unexpected challenges will come. Loss, failure, uncertainty. If you haven't trained yourself to handle discomfort, these moments will crush you. But if you have, if you've made discomfort your ally instead of your enemy, you will be unshaken. Hardship is not something to fear, it is something to prepare for. Those who understand this don't pray for an easy life. They train for a strong mind. And when difficulty arrives, they don't break, they rise. 6. Memento mori, remembering mortality. Most people live as if time is unlimited. They delay their dreams, their apologies, and their adventures, always assuming there will be a better time. But life doesn't wait. It moves forward, relentlessly, and one day it simply runs out. We push important things aside, telling ourselves we'll start that passion project next year, repair that broken relationship when we're less busy, and travel when we retire. But what if time doesn't give us that luxury? What if tomorrow never comes? Memento mori, remember that you will die. The Stoics embraced this phrase, not as a source of fear, but as a source of clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." To remember death is to remember what matters. It sharpens priorities. It wipes away excuses. It forces you to ask, if this were my last day, would I be proud of how I'm living? Let's take a story. For years, a woman postponed the things that truly mattered. She told herself she'd visit her grandmother next month. She'd take that trip someday. She'd say, "I love you," when the time was right. But life had other plans. One evening, a call shattered her world. Her grandmother had passed away suddenly without warning. At the funeral, regret hit her like a wave. She had always thought there would be more time, more visits, more conversations. But time had made no promises, and now the chance was gone. Standing by the gravesite, she asked herself a question that changed everything. If today was my last day, would I be at peace with how I've lived? That night, she made a decision. She would stop postponing life. She called the people she loved, told them what they meant to her. She booked that trip. She stopped waiting for someday and started living in the now. And something unexpected happened. Her life felt fuller, richer, more meaningful. She saw beauty in the ordinary, felt gratitude for every moment, and understood what she'd been missing. Presence. Most people believe they have time. That's the greatest illusion. Now imagine you are holding a sand timer. With every passing second, grains of sand slip through, falling to the bottom, never to return. You don't know how many grains remain, but you do know one thing. When the last grain falls, there's no turning it over. That is life. The question is, how will you use the sand that's left? Will you waste it on trivial worries, on fears of judgment, on things that do not bring meaning? Or will you use it wisely, embracing the moments that truly matter? Think of a candle burning. It does not hesitate, does not stop midway to consider if it should burn brighter later. It simply burns, fully, in the present, until the wax is gone. But humans hesitate. We assume we can pause time, that we can hold off until the right moment. The truth is, the right moment is now. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." We lose time in meaningless distractions, in dwelling on the past, in worrying about a future we cannot control. But if we lived with the awareness that our time is limited, how different would our choices be? The practice of memento mori is not about fearing death. It's about valuing life. It's about speaking your truth, taking risks, and appreciating what you have before it's gone. It's about making sure that when your final moment comes, you don't leave with a heart full of regrets, but with a soul that has truly lived. A life well lived is not measured in years, but in moments of presence, courage, and love. So stop waiting, say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done, live fully while you still can. 7. The balance between past, present, and future. People often find themselves trapped between two forces, the weight of the past and the uncertainty of the future. They replay regrets, reliving mistakes they cannot change, while simultaneously worrying about what lies ahead. This mental tug-of-war creates anxiety, stress, and a sense of helplessness. The truth is that neither the past nor the future exists in this moment. The only place where life truly happens is now. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let your life slip away in inaction, distracted by the future or carried away by the past." Seneca reminded us, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." They knew that dwelling on what has already happened or fearing what has yet to come only weakens the mind. Think of a ship at sea. The past is the wake behind it. The future is the horizon ahead. Neither can be controlled. The captain's only power lies in steering the vessel right now. If he focuses too much on the past, he'll crash into an unseen obstacle. If he stares only at the horizon, he'll neglect the course. But if he remains present, adjusting the sails, navigating the waters, he moves forward with confidence. That's how life should be lived. Imagine walking through a dense fog. Every step forward reveals just enough ground for the next step, but no further. Worrying about what's beyond the fog serves no purpose. The only way to progress is to trust the present step and take it. Yet, many people hesitate. They freeze, trying to see what's ahead before moving. But life doesn't work that way. The future unfolds as we move through it, not before. Dwelling on the past is equally dangerous. Have you ever tried driving while only looking in the rearview mirror? You wouldn't make it far before crashing. Reflection is useful for learning, but when it becomes an obsession, it blinds you to the present moment, the only moment where real change is possible. Some believe that constantly planning for the future guarantees security. But the paradox is this: the more you chase certainty, the less present you become. You spend your days preparing for happiness instead of living it. But preparation, without action, is an endless loop. Stoicism teaches us to use the past as a teacher, the future as a guide, and the present as the arena of action. What does this look like in real life? It means recognizing that regret is only useful if it leads to learning. If a past mistake still haunts you, ask, what can I take from this? What will I do differently now? Once the lesson is extracted, let it go, because the past is unchangeable. It means understanding that excessive future planning is an illusion. You can map out every detail, but life will still throw unexpected events your way. Instead of fearing uncertainty, embrace it. Be adaptable. Prepare what you can, but don't become rigid. As Epictetus said, do not seek for things to happen as you wish. Wish for things to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. If you've ever watched a child play, you'll notice something remarkable. They are fully present. They aren't replaying yesterday's mistakes or worrying about tomorrow's obligations. They are engaged at the moment, responding to what is happening right now. Somewhere along the way, as we grow up, we lose this ability. We trade presence for anxiety and spontaneity for structure. But we can reclaim it. Ask yourself, if today was the only day I had, how would I live it? Would you waste it on past regrets? Would you fill it with worries about a future that hasn't arrived? Or would you be here, fully, completely, embracing what life is offering right now? The past is gone. The future is uncertain. But this moment is yours. Use it well. 8. Cultivating inner peace. Many people spend their lives chasing external validation, likes, promotions, approval, and admiration. They seek reassurance from others, believing that happiness comes from recognition. But the truth is, as long as your peace depends on something outside of you, it will always be fragile. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, if you seek tranquility, do less. Or more accurately, do what's essential. Marcus Aurelius wrote, a wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be. The key to inner peace is not in controlling the world, but in mastering your mind. Imagine a lake. On a still day, its surface is smooth. reflecting the sky perfectly. But when disturbed by wind, the water ripples and distorts everything it reflects. Your mind is the same. The more external noise you let in, people's opinions, social expectations, temporary pleasures, the more chaotic it becomes. But when you detach from the noise and focus inward, clarity emerges. Yet, most people spend their time doing the opposite. They scroll endlessly on their phones, seeking approval. They overthink conversations, worrying about how they were perceived. They work tirelessly to impress people who may not even notice. And in the end, they feel exhausted, unfulfilled, and lost. Let's take a story. A young woman built her life around external validation. She needed constant reassurance from social media, her workplace, and her relationships. Every compliment gave her a momentary high, but soon after, the emptiness returned. She kept chasing more, believing that just one more achievement, one more person's approval, would finally make her feel enough. But one day, she came across a simple quote: "A wise person is satisfied with themselves, regardless of what they have or do not have." The words stayed with her. She started journaling, reflecting on her life, and questioning why she constantly sought outside approval. Slowly, she made changes, spending more time alone, disconnecting from social media, and practicing gratitude. The more she focused on herself, the less she needed validation from others. Over time, something shifted. She no longer felt trapped by other people's opinions. She no longer needed applause to feel worthy. For the first time, she experienced peace that wasn't dependent on anything external. True peace is not something you find, it's something you create. Imagine standing in a crowded marketplace. The noise is overwhelming, voices shouting, people rushing, distractions everywhere. But now, imagine stepping into a quiet forest. The air is still. The only sound is the rustling leaves. In that moment, your mind relaxes, your thoughts become clear. That forest, it's not a physical place. It's a state of mind. And you can access it anywhere, if you learn to step away from the noise of the world and listen to yourself. The Stoics didn't just talk about peace, they practiced it. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote personal reflections every night, reminding himself that external success meant nothing if his inner world was in turmoil. Seneca, despite his immense wealth, practiced voluntary simplicity, eating basic meals and sleeping on the floor, so that his happiness was never tied to luxuries. So how do you cultivate inner peace in a world designed to distract you? First, limit unnecessary noise. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every argument needs your involvement. Choose where you invest your mental energy wisely. Second, spend time with yourself. Many people are afraid of solitude because they don't like their own thoughts. But solitude isn't loneliness. It's where you reconnect with yourself. Third, shift from seeking to being. Stop searching for happiness in achievements, possessions, or people's praise. Start focusing on who you are when no one is watching. Peace is not a reward. It's not something you earn by impressing others. It's not waiting for you at the end of your goals. It's available right now, at this moment, if you choose to claim it. A practical guide for life. Negative thinking isn't something you wake up with one day. It's a habit reinforced over time. Your mind is like a path in the woods. The more you walk on the same negative trail, the deeper it becomes, the harder it is to escape. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Just as you created this pattern, you can create a new one. You don't overcome negative thinking by forcing yourself to be blindly optimistic or by suppressing difficult emotions. You overcome it by training your mind to see things differently, to process challenges with wisdom rather than despair. The Stoics didn't believe in false positivity. They didn't wake up hoping the world would be easy. They prepared for difficulties and strengthened their minds to endure them. Marcus Aurelius didn't tell himself, "Everything will go my way today." Instead, he reminded himself, "I will meet people who are dishonest, selfish, and irrational, but that does not have to change my peace." That's the key to rewiring negative thinking. It's not about changing the world around you. It's about changing how you see it. Think of a river with two boats. One captain fights the current, exhausting himself as he tries to resist the flow. The other captain, instead of resisting, learns to navigate, using the current to his advantage. The river is the same, but the experience of each captain is completely different. Your mind works the same way. You can fight against life's difficulties, making yourself miserable, or you can learn to adjust and move with wisdom. But how do you actually rewire your thoughts? Most people don't even notice how much they fuel their own negativity. They treat every thought as truth, when in reality, thoughts are just passing signals. If you want to regain control, you need to track these patterns. Try this. Carry a small notebook or use your phone. Every time you have a negative thought, write it down. At the end of the day, read through them. You'll start noticing patterns. Maybe you tend to catastrophize, turning small problems into huge disasters. Maybe you assume the worst in people. The simple act of observing your thoughts creates distance between you and them. It gives you power over what once felt automatic. When something frustrating happens, most people react instantly. Anger, worry, blame, it all comes without thought. But what if you paused? What if in the moment you asked, does this deserve my energy? Will this matter in a month? If a wise person were in my shoes, how would they respond? The Stoics practiced the art of emotional detachment. Not in the sense of being indifferent, but in the sense of protecting their peace. Epictetus taught that we don't suffer from events themselves, but from our judgment of them. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones. Every resentment, every anxious thought, every moment of regret adds another rock to your load. The more you carry, the harder it is to move. But what if you started dropping them? What if you let go of what doesn't serve you? Suddenly, you walk lighter and you move freely. This is what happens when you train your mind to release unnecessary negativity. Every situation gives you a choice. You can react the way you always have, or you can decide to see things differently. A canceled flight isn't a ruined trip. It's a free day to explore a new city. A rejected job application isn't a personal failure. It's a sign to improve and try again. A difficult conversation isn't something to avoid. It's an opportunity to practice courage. The way you frame events shapes your experience of life, and the more you train this skill, the easier it becomes. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote that most of our suffering comes from the stories we tell ourselves. We assume the worst, we cling to what we can't control, and we forget how much power we have over our own minds. So instead of waiting for life to become easier, become someone who can handle life exactly as it is. Negative thinking isn't a life sentence, it's a habit, and habits can be changed. Your thoughts don't have to control you. You can train your mind to break free from old patterns, to see obstacles differently, and to face life with resilience rather than resistance. Every moment offers a choice. You can react as you always have, letting negativity shape your world, or you can decide to rewire your thinking, to see setbacks as setups, challenges as training, discomfort as growth. The mind, just like the body, strengthens with practice. Every time you question a negative thought, every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you shift your focus to what you can control, you're training yourself for a better life. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology confirmed it. They knew that peace wasn't about avoiding problems, it was about developing the inner strength to handle them. They practiced detachment from unnecessary suffering, reminding themselves that it's not the world that creates our pain, but our perception of it. So ask yourself, how will you train your mind today? Will you let circumstances define you, or will you choose to define them? Will you stay trapped in old patterns, or will you take the first step toward freedom? Share your thoughts in the comments below. What's one negative belief you've struggled with? How have you worked to shift your mindset? Your story might inspire someone else to start their transformation.